Good evening. Welcome to the Spiritual But Not Religious Show. I'm your host, George Lewis. Going to have a great evening this evening. My guest tonight is a fantastic lady from LA who has a center in LA. She's a channel. She channels an entity or group called Isaiah. And I've talked with her before, and she just does some really amazing right-on things with people. You're going to really enjoy her this evening. Her name is Amaya Victoria, and Amaya, as I was talking earlier, is from L.A. She has a center in L.A. called the Amaya Center, and you can find her on the internet. You can Google her, Amaya Victoria or the Amaya Center, and Tom will put the address information up in the chat box. But before we get Amaya on the line, and I tell you a little bit more about what we're going to do this evening, I want to tell you about the Spiritual Broadcasting Network and what we're doing with that. One of the things that I became aware of is the millions of people out there who really label themselves as Christian, but not really Christian in the common form that we talk about. Most of them don't go to church. Many of them don't believe at all in the dogma of the standard Christian church. And there are millions of others who just believe in something spiritual, but not necessarily religious. And so what we've done is created a broadcasting company, and we're going to operate much like, if you recall, the CNN, the Christian, or CBN, Christian Broadcasting Network, which really focused just on Christianity. We're going to bring you the many, many diverse voices of the spiritual community, and there are a great amount of diversity. It's wonderful. It seems to me that God kind of comes through to us in terms that we can understand. And accepting this diversity is an important part about ever reaching a place of peace in the world. And so that's our whole goal, is to be able to bring you those voices so that you get an opportunity to hear and see this diversity, and we can kind of come together so we have a place in the universe where we have some sort of power and some say in the world. So join us in our effort as we move forward. We've got a lot of good shows lined up that are going to be coming on here in the fall, and we expect to grow pretty rapidly. So stay with us. We're looking to have a really good season this year. Back to my show tonight, the Spiritual But Not Religious Show. Actually, my guest tonight is Amaya Victoria, and we've got Tom Johnson's wife, Megan, who is going to be someone that Amaya is going to work with. Amaya channels, and so Amaya does some pretty interesting things. If you read it all on the website there, that bit of a bio that talks about somebody just coming up to you and telling you, what's going on in your life. Well, that's pretty much what's going to happen here tonight. So I'm going to check. Tom, we have Amaya on the line.
We do, George.
Good evening, Amaya.
Good evening.
We're going to probably have to get your volume up a little bit.
Okay.
There. Are you close to your mic, Amaya?
Yes, I am.
Oh.
I'm on a landline that's actually wires.
Okay. Actually, you were sounding pretty good now.
Okay.
So we had the gremlins tonight with your video. You got a new computer and things kind of went haywire.
No, I had this computer.
Oh, is that right? It's not.
That's
So it's
right.
not a new one. Well, you never.
No, I think it's just maybe some little gremlins don't want me on the air tonight.
Well, this gremlin wants you on there. So,
I know it.
So well, I'll tell you what. When you're doing live and you're using the internet and it's really still a kind of technology where just about anything can happen, and so in computers you never know. I was at 4:30 this afternoon having all kinds of difficulty with equipment here, and got it all resolved, and here we are. So, well.
And the type of guest you have also, I mean, I have a propensity to screw up electronics as it is.
Well,
going around
you
it.
know what, Amaya, there's much to be said about that. I totally believe that. Tom and I, that's been our experience, hasn't it, Tom? What was the gentleman who we had that he warned us beforehand? We were Brewer, Wayne
Yeah,
Brewer. Yeah, Wayne writes some stuff that some of these forces don't like. So we sure had it going on that night. So,
yeah.
so tell us, Amaya, you tell us first of all a bit about you. Give us a little of your bio, your background, how you came to be a channel for Isaiah, and then we'll kind of go from there. But I'd like our audience to get to know a bit about you before we see what you do and how you do it.
Wow. Well, where do I start? I was born.
Well, that's good. That's good. We'll just take the Reader's Digest version.
I was born January 23rd. You know, um, I was born to do this work. As a young child, I saw spirit continuously. I love the fact that the book The Sixth Sense is out, the movie. I'm sorry,
Right.
because that was me as a child.
Oh, really?
Years later, yes, years later, with one of my shamanistic healers, we were talking about this. I would come in for a session, and he would just sit there and like stare at me when we were talking. And he said two things to me. He said, first of all, he keeps wondering what I'm being prepared for because I had been going through such a strong cleanse, still am,
Well,
in many
when
ways.
you say strong cleanse, what does that mean? I mean, give us a little
Well,
idea.
it's a healing.
Right.
And part of the healing process, many people think, I should not generalize that much. Many people think that when you ask for healing, it's going to be angel dust and lights flashing and everything becoming,
Yeah.
hunky dory, and that is not necessarily the case. That's not been my experience. In most cases, there has to be an initiation process in which the blockage, the trauma, that we carry, whether it's from this lifetime or other lifetimes or ancestral or someone else's, because we're all from the same soup,
Right.
has to be cleared away. And the indigenous people call it the splitting open for the poisons to drain out. The Bible calls it the cleansing of the robes.
See, that
And
was
it's
my
the process of allowing things to be broken up that we consider trauma in our central nervous system, in our cells, in our mental and emotional bodies, our mental and emotional energy and memory, in our physical memory, in our bodies. Our bodies remember everything.
right.
And so there's a process of breaking things up where it has to be released, and it needs to be released physically, mentally, and emotionally, and therefore through the cells. That way, our spirituality, which has never been in question, can reassert itself. You see, it's not about becoming perfect and becoming this ordained spiritual being, which is already there. It's about learning to live life on earth as a good human being.
Absolutely.
That's true spirituality, as
that
far as
is
I'm concerned.
that has been my complete experience. And if we're spiritual beings having a human experience, we don't need to worry about being spiritual.
Right.
We need to worry about being human.
It's the humanness that's in question here.
Yeah.
The human nature is beautiful. We are beautiful beings. It's the human condition, the human suffering that we're struggling with right now.
Right.
And that comes with a great deal of trauma.
So,
I had put up on my Facebook just recently that I was working with someone in the office, and I said, your trauma, underneath the trauma is the wisdom, and underneath the wisdom is the understanding, and underneath the understanding is the compassion and empathy, and underneath the compassion and empathy is the love, which we truly all are. And
we
there's
can't get to
nothing wrong
the
with trauma. It just has to be healed and used properly. It becomes a glorious gift.
we actually can't even get to the real love until we are able to find our way into empathy and compassion and
Right.
and
Yeah.
humility.
We all are so set on, the love and the joy and the freedom, these big words.
Right.
And Spirit has reminded me again and again, and spoke to many groups about this, that we're forgetting the foundation words like harmony,
Balance.
consideration, balance, kindness, understanding, mercy, grace, empathy. Those things foundation our ability then to forgive, because forgiveness is an outcome, not an action.
Right.
It's an outcome of the healing.
It's a definite process, isn't it?
It's a really definite. It's actually a death process, because the old has
Right.
to die away.
Right.
and then forgiveness occurs. And we all have this. We really all are heart, H-E-R-T, beings. Our God is the heart center for 7 to 9 other gods. That we call God. I call it that because it's the fastest way. People know that name.
Well, okay. When you say that for our audience, break that down a little bit. When you say our heart is the center for 9,
our God is the heart center
uh-huh,
for 7 to 9 other gods, and it's making its movement now up the spiral, meaning it's becoming pure. And so what is happening for each of us on this planet, but we're being pulled, we're being encouraged, we're being moved along, you know? We're being pulled along, we're being yanked, we're being forced, whatever words you want to use, to open our hearts.
Right.
And it makes sense. It just makes absolute sense to us. We're the micro, as above, so below.
Right.
We're the micro expression of a macro expression that's beginning to take up speed. It's been going on for generations now.
For a very long time, you bet.
For a very long time. Forever, actually, from the first breath till now, it's never stopped.
So
We're
let's
coming to a full circle.
So let me come back just a little bit to you.
Yeah, about myself. So
well, I have a specific question before you, and that is, did you get involved with any other kind of work other than what you do now for a period of time, or were you immediately into this kind of?
I came into this field very frightened, very skeptical, and screaming and kicking.
Yeah,
I
hear that
I
often.
leap in with both feet. I remember years ago, after I had shut down, because I had to shut down at a very young age. Like many of us, I came from a very dysfunctional family.
Right.
And it was all set up so I could become who I am today. You know, I don't regret any of it. I can't say I would ever do it again, quite frankly.
Well, you're not going to volunteer, right?
I may do it again. You know, my soul is
Right.
very unjudgmental about all this. There's no real judgment.
Right.
My personality's going, oh no, and you know, kind of cringes at the thought. If I had to do it again, I most likely would. I can't say I would want to, but I don't have any regret because it has made me personally and professionally who I am. It's honed my gifts.
Sure, well, absolutely.
It's honed it. And I was told that by this teacher. He said if you had been spotted in a village or a tribe, you would have been taken from your family by the medicine people and initiated.
It's
about 20, 25 years. Initiation process is a long time, and it is that breaking down process. So to answer your question, I came in through the tarot cards.
Okay.
That's how I.
So that was the first way you were making a living, was through the tarot cards?
No, actually, I made a living as a bookkeeper.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant. So
you were a living as a house cleaner.
You were doing real left brain kinds of things as opposed to the right brain.
Oh yes, I chopped wood and carried water for a very long time.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's made me very grounded. Many of my clients, one of my clients who's been with me a very long time, doesn't work with me anymore on a professional level, but we know each other. We've known each other for close to 30 years.
Right.
She has said to me again and again, "You're one of the most grounded healers I know."
That's essential, and I've just talked and known so many who they don't have that grounding. Boy, and Amaya, that leaves things kind of adrift, you know.
It does for everyone, including them.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, that's their path, and for every level there are healers for every level and every doorway.
Right.
It's just I had no earth in my chart, my astrological chart, and for good reasons, because I was going to learn about Earth by proxy. I was going to learn about Earth organically, and I have.
Right.
I've learned about Earth, and for the longest time I did not want to be here, and that shifted about 20 years ago.
So you didn't want to be on.
I can't tell you how. It just did.
You didn't want to be on Earth at all.
I did not want to be on Earth. I was really my first love is God.
Right.
My first love is what we call the heavens, and I had to be shown that this place was safe, that I could be here, and it's actually a glorious place. We just need to bring it back around the corner. That we are the marriage of the heavens and the earth. We're the children of that marriage, the marriage of the heavens and the earth. We're the offspring of that marriage.
We are children of the universe and have a right to be here, huh?
Yes.
Absolutely.
We all have a right to be here, no matter how we're walking the path or what we're doing with our lives. We all have a right to be here. Each and every one of us. So
tell us so you were doing the tarot cards, and then
I met a woman who was living at my mother's house. She had left a card of a card reader, a business card of a card reader, on my mother's table. Now, from 15 till the time I met this woman, and I was 26 23 when I met this woman. I had been reading everything I could get my hands on about what we call psychic phenomena, which to me is nothing more than the real way of being. So it's the psychic phenomena, et cetera, because remember I had up to 7 years old, 10 years old, this whole process where I walked in that world all the time.
Right.
And then I shut it down, but I couldn't shut it totally down. I would have dreams in the dream state for many, many years, even when I was an adult. The night before John Lennon died, I had a dream where the whole world was crying, and I didn't know why.
Oh, wow.
For years, I had dreams about the Challenger blowing up, and I would say every time the Challenger went up, and then finally, after I let it go, years later, one of the Challengers blew up. And I've had other, not just horrific dreams, but I've had other dreams about things coming to pass. So into my dream state went my gifts. By nature, I thought everyone worked the way I did to the degree I was still open, which was I could feel other people's feelings. I knew about them just by looking at them.
Right.
And I just thought everyone worked that way for the longest time.
Actually, you go...
So when I met this woman, I saw this card. I spoke to her about the card reader, and we struck off a 20-some-year relationship at that point. And she is about 15 to 20 years my senior.
Uh-huh.
So I went to this card reader who said I would be doing this work, and at the time I couldn't imagine it. And somewhere in there I picked up a pack of tarot cards, and she gave me a gift of a pack of cards, actually a playing deck. And I eventually picked up the tarot cards and began to read them. And at first I used the book, and my favorite deck is the original Rider deck.
Right.
Because that's what I learned off of, and it's the easiest for me to read. And for about 3 months, I was reading it via the book, and then one night I was reading for someone, and I just put the book down. And you could see it was an old gift. You could see it was from somewhere else.
Right.
And I began to just know. I remembered how to know. And at that point, I began to say things somewhere in there, after that 3-month period, I began to say things and not know where it came from, what I was saying, or I would feel my voice change, and I didn't know what I was going to say next, and it would just come out. Unbeknownst to me, at that point, I was beginning to channel, and I just didn't know it.
Right.
Now, that's not the only thing I do. I'm really a healer and a spiritual teacher through and through. I'm very cathartic in my nature. People either like me or they don't, and I tend to get people stirred up both in my personal life and my professional life. I can just walk into a room and get people going.
You polarize people,
huh? Of the work I've done on myself. I cannot say enough for the healing process, not only because I'm a healer and I love it, but because in healing oneself, you become truly original again. Truly original again. And so I had to start along with meeting my first teacher through this woman I met at my mother's house, through the card reader, et cetera, et cetera. I met this teacher who became my first primary teacher, Evelyn Isidore.
Right.
She lived in Bensalem, Pennsylvania, where I was born and raised. I was born in Philadelphia. And she never taught me to channel. She never taught me to be psychic. She taught me about universal laws and the fact that I belonged on Earth and I was loved. And so every Tuesday for about 2 years or more, I would sit in a room with anywhere from 10 to 25 women, all older than me. I was the youngest of the women, and she would teach a lesson. And then at some point we began to do healing work. We actually became a healing circle where people outside the circle would come in with people who had died, were earthbound, and someone in the circle would do the work. But this whole circle, it was almost like a circle of Wiccans, the whole circle would work together. It was all females, it was all women.
Right.
And out of that, I began to channel. And the first time I channeled, I was home by myself because I was afraid of being crazy. And what better way to face that fear but to be home by myself washing dishes? And I had been meditating on a daily basis. And someone said to me, I heard in my head, go lay down, we have a message for you. And I've been getting messages in my meditations. I thought nothing of it. I turned the water off at the sink because I would get a great deal of information around water. I still do. I live 6 blocks from the Grandmother Ocean. I'm very connected to
So you're on the
which is, by the way, an air sign.
So you're on the west end of LA.
I am on the on West LA. Very good.
Okay.
I'm down by the ocean here.
Okay, great.
And so I went and laid down, and it felt like someone had taken my mouth in a vice. All this energy was there, and I began to speak. Now, there was no one else in the house, and as soon as I could get off the sofa, I called this woman who I was friends with. She said, "Don't do anything more. I'm coming down with the tape recorder." And we taped it, and I took it to my teacher, and like any good teacher, she pushed my buttons.
Huh.
And I said to her 3 times, "Please tell me I'm not crazy," because I was terrified I was. And she finally said to me after the 3rd time, looking me straight in the face, "I can't tell you that until I listen to the tape." And she made me wait a whole week before she got back to me.
And you were getting crazier.
I was getting crazier and crazier, and I had to leave it alone. I knew I needed to respect her and wait.
Right.
And I waited, and when I came to class, she said to me before class, "You are not going crazy. You're beginning to channel." And for quite a while there would be one entity that would come first and say, "This is Michael. I'm clearing the channel. The group will follow." And either he would give a very short lesson, or he would step out, and the group would step in. And you could hear, if I kept those earlier tapes, which I really regret I did not, you would be able to hear that they were practicing through me as much as I was getting used to them.
I'm sure. And this
And
was.
it turned out years later that was Archangel Michael. He never identified himself as that. He would just say, "This is Michael."
Did he identify himself as being that at a later?
Yeah, he would never identify himself as Archangel.
So he never did, or he did?
No, he never did.
Okay.
That whole time that he cleared me, he never identified himself. It was only years later when I was doing work in Florida. I traveled a great deal for the longest time with my work because I came out of the gate at 23, 24, 25 years old.
Wow.
And started working with people. I was pushed out. At the same time, I had to work on myself. So a long time there, it was a very intense process.
I bet it was. Yeah.
What was that?
I say I bet. I'm sure it was.
Yeah, it was very intense. And I was in Florida, and this gentleman was a channel, and he channeled Michael. He channeled an angel who talked about Michael and told me he was one of my guides and described him. And I had been in a very bad car accident where I saw this angel, and I had asked about it to this channel. And the channel said that was Archangel Michael, and I said, "But it looked like so-and-so." And he said, "Archangel Michael looks a little female." And years later, I went to an artist who turned out to be my second cousin. After she died, I found out she was my second cousin. I just pulled out the soul portrait she did for me, which is absolutely gorgeous. I did not know she was my second cousin at the time. And I went to her place to have this portrait done. I was giving it to myself as a birthday gift. Walked into her art studio, turned and looked, and there was a ceiling to floor picture of an archangel. And it was the angel I had seen.
Oh, wow.
And I said to her, "Who is that?" And she said, "Archangel Michael." And I said, "Well, the cheekbones need to be more defined," and yada, yada. I don't know what I said. And she's standing there with her mouth open looking. She said, "How do you know that?" I said, "Because I saw him."
That's phenomenal.
He came to me when I had a near-death experience and stood in front of that light and wouldn't let me go. Would not let me go. And out of being initiated in Evelyn's group, I began to channel. Very reluctantly, I began to channel. My work at first was closed-eyed and conscious, and then I evolved to a place where I was open-eyed and unconscious, and now I'm back at a place where I'm open-eyed and semi-conscious for what's going on with the work.
Well, I'll tell you what. Now we've got really good background, and I think it'll make what you do. And Amaya is going to do a little work with Tom's wife, Megan, and now that the audience has got the background, I think it'll be far more meaningful what we're doing here. I know my experience with you was very, very powerful. Tom, you got Megan on the phone?
She's on with you.
Well, I'll tell you what,
Yes.
Maya, I'm going to
Hi, George.
how are you, Megan? I'm
well. How are you?
I'm great, and I'm going to let the two of you talk, and I'm going to sit here and watch for a while.
I'm here. How are you?
Good, but I don't hear George.
You're not hearing me now?
Oh, now I am. Now
Okay,
I'm hearing.
okay, good.
Okay. I would like to say also, along with the channeling, I do other healing work, and I'm actually getting ready to do a mentorship program. After 30 years, I have plenty of information to download
Before
for the healers.
Before the show's over, we'll talk about that in some detail. We'll have Tom put some information up on.
Okay, great. So the first thing that I feel very strongly before we do Megan is to give a primary message to the audience, or at least for you all to hear.
Great.
And then I may or may not come on back and take a breath and then talk to Megan for a moment and then go off again, or they may just go ahead and take over, and the group Isaiah will go ahead and take over and do what they need to do or need to help Megan, how they need to help Megan.
Great.
Okay? All right, so I just need a moment to go ahead and shift and step back and let the great ones come forward so that they can help us. Okay. I must say I'm feeling so much love. I'm just, my goodness, I'm overwhelmed almost to tears with the love they're bringing forward. All right. If there are any microphones or any headsets on, if you'll just take them away for a moment because we must tone at least once. We do not want to hurt anyone's ears at this given moment. Is everyone ready?
You go for it.
Yes.
Blessed ones, beauteous ones, those of the beautiful extension of God's heart that has come to the earth, to this plane of the manifestation of the physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, energetic, and prayerful state of joyous longing for home, we bid welcome. And we ask that you bid us welcome because it is not us taking you into the fold. It is also you taking us back in to your fold in your hearts. You of the glorious tenure, the glorious agreement of coming to the earth to not just suffer and struggle, but to bring forth the harmony, the toning, the sound, the love of your true selves, of your throat areas, of your hearts, of your ways of being. We bid thank you. We have for you tears of love and of wonderment that, Masters, you would take on such an arduous process, a process of complex instruction, experience, growth, and emotional restitution. Ultimately, it is love that is the only answer because it is love that is the only question. Ultimately, all these experiences, because none of them are just truly mental, are based in the heart opening of love. It seems like a generic statement, but it's the only word we have for this feeling, this sensation that we wish we could pass on to you right now that sits in the channel's heart and throat. It's tenderness, tender love, sweet, sweet knowledge that all is well. Tears of sweet, tender love that is in each of you. The innocence of the children. The innocence of the children of God. Innocence is the cradle, the hand, the palm that holds the love. Innocence, unbidden by bitterness, unhindered by contraction, holds love cradled tender within its very heart. You are all truly innocent. We do not mean that in the way of naivete. We do not mean that in the way of stupidity. We do not mean that in the way of not having lived life. We mean that in the way of living life and everything being, yes, a choice, but a setup. Every step of movement back to the lighting of your candle in your heart known as divinity. Upon your planet at this time is so much mixed messages, so many mixed happenings, so much force-fed information, and so much agitation of your very psyches so that you may blossom and bloom and therefore thrive once again. Humanity comes to the brink of destruction, and we have great knowledge and great wonderment that the potential and possibility of this fourth go-around will come true. That you will come close to that edge of annihilation and skim like a good skateboarder does around the rim of that bowl, away from the addiction of harm and disease darkness, and loop towards, in full circle, up the spiral. Loop towards in full circle back to the light, with gaining and gleaning great wisdom, great knowledge, practicality, and earth-bound joy. You are pulling up from the earth its innate exquisiteness and pulling down from the heavens this filtering of white light. And you, each of you, must be purified enough to hold both energies. For the light coming down would annihilate you if you're not clean enough, and the light coming up would torture you if you're not sure enough. And so each of you, given your time of your birth, has come with a clear intention of singing in harmony all the old songs from all the old cultures, all the new songs from all the new beings, and everything in between. May your heart sing. May you pass through this dark time, knowing that even though you may get scarred or slightly burned, you will be unscathed. May you lean upon us, i.e., those of the many realities all around you, above and below you. May you pray deeply. May you walk in silence, not of isolation, but of sacredness. And may you feel the angels, the masters, the teachers, the beings of light, the beings of earth, the beings of all things, all around you. And may your whispers become that of a lullaby of comfort. May each of your hearts rest well and be nestled in protective light for this time until, as these next 2-3 years pass, you may unfold fully again. We are as real as each of you, for you are each very much more real than you know. Your life will never end, for you are living itself. You are the exquisite wonder of all things, and you have this open-ended doorway of potential and creation that goes beyond all imagination. Who says it can't be done? Not even yourselves. It's time not only to create what you want, because not all things can be created, it has to be in harmony, but it's time to be knowing that you can create and make the unknown known and make things that no one would ever think possible occur. But start first within your own home, within your own hearts, in your own lives, and then it may flourish forward. We'll need to shift gears here because for this one, there needs to be a shift of guards, as you would say. Someone else, this one speaking now may continue to speak, but we bring forward the mother energy behind it, the energy of grandmother or mother's line. we bring forward the mothering light for her. And we encapsulate and engulf her very throat and heart center in it. We wrap ourselves around her, cocooning her very physical being. And we lift from her the heaviness that has loosed far enough for us to take away. Butterfly, it's time to be reborn. It's time to know your female side fully. It's time that we take from your throat and your heart the sadness and release you into the wonderment that yes, 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 yes. Phones away from the ears again, microphones back a little. We're going to tone right at Megan, at her heart area, where everything is attempting to unfold. And then send this light through her spinal column, her neck, her jaw, her upper arms, actually through all the structure of the body, for the bones tend to carry whatever she suppresses. Is this all right, Megan?
Yes, it is. Thank
That we
you.
do this.
Yes.
You're quite welcome. You know, dear one, this is just a body memory from another lifetime where you were in a wheelchair. And so you've brought this over in this lifetime to face that memory and to go further into a much different potential. Is that clear?
Yes, thank you.
And this wheelchair, there actually was 2 times here. The first time the wheelchair was made of cane or wicker. And the second time it was metal and very restricting, and it was very close to this lifetime. You did not spend much time between lifetimes this last time. Not at all. At the most 3 years. Your time, mine. And in that lifetime, it was polio in the first lifetime that put you into the wheelchair. The second time, it was a birth defect, and you were pretty well bound to that wheelchair and in a great deal of pain and could not express it. And so in this lifetime, the propensity to not be able to express pain still stays with you. Now join the crowd. The majority, 90% of the population, has a hard time expressing their pain because they do not trust that they will be heard or that salvation, comfort, will come to them. And so that is why we will open your throat area, because that's where you're holding it. But it fingers out through the bone structure.
Okay.
And so we'll tone at your throat area, but we have every intention of sending this blue, green, purple, cooling light out through your body to get rid of that red-hot rage that you've carried. And unfortunately, may we get a little personal?
Yes, of course.
All right.
Will I feel this? Will I?
Wait, we'll get there. Let's just
Okay.
statement. Unfortunately, you think it's due to mother, this red hotness through your body, but it's actually related to the suppressed feelings and memories around father. And so will you feel this? Well, we'll see, shan't we? Trust us that even if you don't, we're doing what we say we're doing. And isn't that the growth for you, is to not be so skeptical, because that's not your nature. Your nature is actually of great interest of the spiritual realm. You're just a little afraid. Innately in you lies a deeply spiritual being. You are aware of this, yes?
I think sometimes I am. Maybe not enough.
Well, there's no judgment here. You know, we do many things that you don't understand, you as in plural, and actually what we're doing is a setup for an awakening here. There's no judgment. You see, so many of you have been taught about a judging God, and we're just making a statement. And actually the statement was much larger than when you took it, because you contracted out of fear that you're not good enough. What we're saying to you is that we asked you if you were aware of it just because we wanted to see if you were. But the truth is that that's who's in you. That's who you are. You were a deeply spiritual master in another lifetime. And you've had very strong male lifetimes, and this is what the struggle is in this lifetime. And so it is to come into the female and still have the authority, the strength of the male. And so, will you feel this? We'll see. Will you feel it right now? Maybe not. Maybe you'll feel it later. But the more you don't worry about it and don't clench down, the more you don't analyze it and hold back. It's not quite the words we want, that hold back. It's more, not really skepticism, it's distrust. The healing with God will come upon you in quick order. But this clearing is first around Mother and letting her go. Then opening the doors to this blankness around Father. And then the reconnection to all that is the great mystery. So phones away, microphones away. Is everyone ready?
Yes.
And while we're at it, while we speak to you, we'll clear that head area of yours so that you can think and you can focus and you can decide what you would like to do with your life. You see, Megan, you're wanted. You do belong and you need to be here on earth. The gift of love came upon you several years ago, and the gift of child is even more important here. In a way, you're learning as you go, you know, about being a mother.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you think that you are a poor mother. You worry about this, you fret. And we tell you, no, you're like a novice, you know. It's like learning, like picking up weights and exercising. You have to start less and more, right? You're learning, but you know your heart is in it, and your healing is necessary so that you're not having this closed heart, this clenched heart when dealing with your daughter. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Because that then makes you judge her and be impatient. When really what she's teaching you is not so much patience, but love, kindness, gentleness, and then patience. And so this is a very big experience for you, and it is important that you stay kind to yourself in this, so that you can know that you are doing a good job. You know, Megan, very few people know that your childhood was so hard, and that you really were very gentle. You came through that childhood confused, hesitant of taking up space and speaking your mind. Now, some people wouldn't even agree with us on that one, but it really is the truth. And so this has been about no longer punching the air, but coming to a place where you know you're wanted, and therefore you can ease up and be easy in your communications, in the way you live your life. And we're going to say something else, and we hope it's not too personal, that you must stay away from even the fumes of alcohol. Do you understand?
Yeah, that's not a problem.
You have to, because it runs on Father's side.
This is very true.
The problems with it. So anything that's going to want to medicate you, you have to stay away from. Inclusive in that is sugar.
That's a beautiful thing. If you tell me that, I shouldn't do it because I love sugar.
Yes, right. We were just getting ready to say, you said it before us, And that's really where your addiction lies. And that's how you know you have the propensity towards alcoholism from father's side of the family. And that's why you can't even smell the stuff, because it will trigger you. And you'll go to the sugar. You just won't do the alcohol because of all the memories, all the hurt. And the sugar is really what's keeping you lethargic and your mind muddled. And actually your adrenals down. And that's why then you have to do caffeine, and then you have to do this, and then back to the sugar, and then it's a vicious cycle. And that is your sticking point. And we're certainly not going to twist your arm on it, but you know you've been thinking about it on and off for many years, especially the last several months. So maybe it's time to turn and face it. Chocolate has caffeine in it too, by the way.
I know that. I'm overwhelmed listening to this.
Just wait. Can we continue? Maybe we can.
Absolutely. Please do.
Now, you're going to want cooling things in your throat area because it's been so backed up. So ice cream, cold drinks, sweet cold drinks. You'll want that because it soothes that area. Iced tea. You have to get rid of the sweet tea. So that really, it's going to want to calm that area because it's on fire all the time. What would really help you, Megan, is to get some healing work done, long distance or in person, laying on hands. Even if you start with Reiki, which you know about, and get that area started clearing. But if you start clearing that area, then it's going to pull in the heart area, the heart chakra, the solar plexus, and then down to the root, and that's where all heck's going to break loose from. But it's necessary. Is that clear?
Yes, thank you.
And whether you do it this year or you do it 2 years from now, that's up to you. But in order to clear the pelvic bowl, that root chakra has got to be healed.
Okay.
Because you have problems in the pelvic bowl area. And that's because it's congested and backed up, and that's where all the father issue lies. All right. Are there any questions?
No. It's just interesting to hear this.
Let's get that withhold out of the way. Change the word interesting to what?
Well, it's I don't know how much information you need from me, but my past with
We don't need any information. We just gave you your past back to you.
well, just to hear it, and it's
So it's
funny.
intense, it's spot on, not because we want kudos so that other people will believe whoever's listening to this. We don't care about that. But for you, because that interesting, it's a very passive, aggressive way of not coming into your passion.
Well, when you mentioned sugar, for example, as simple as that is, I tell you that I struggle with not.
We will say it for you. It is your biggest struggle. It's not that simple. It is your sticking point.
It is.
It's your sticking point. It's what keeps you actually turning in the place of believing you're not intelligent enough, and actually keeps your mind at a lower IQ than you really are.
Okay.
It's a form of subjugation. It's a form of withhold.
Okay.
Your very beauty to the beauty of what God has given you. And that's all right, dear one. If this is what your life needs to be, if you've come light years in 15 years. And if nothing else, your child/children will do the rest of it with you and for you. One way or another, to whatever degree you can, your heart will open in this lifetime. You just need to get rid of the form of seeing yourself as male. That needs to go.
Of seeing myself as male?
Yes, of having that internalized, quiet male identity. You may not understand that. It's inside of you.
No. Okay.
And you'll need to sit with that.
Okay.
Because once you're able to accept that you're not, and even accept that you have a strong male propensity internally, then you'll stop being afraid to be whole and to be equal with everyone around you. You'll come out from the shadows. That's what we're trying to say.
Right.
And then we can talk to you about your creativity if you want to do anything with it in this lifetime, as if you're not. People think that creativity means artist, writer, doing something momentous, when really you're all very magnificent creators. You created this world. You create your lives from one breath to the next. You go with creation and destiny constantly. But there's no less or more. And there's no, beige is a color. It may be a boring color to you, dear artist, but it's a color. You see, when you were a little girl, you liked to put your fingers in the finger paint and smear them anywhere. And at some point, you got shamed enough around even painting that you pulled away. And it's about time to get back to all those colors and all the experience around the art. Find a way, unscatter, focus your life, put it into order, discipline, and get space for yourself to create.
Okay.
And are you finished with us, and have you had enough?
I think it's great. I think it's cool.
Very well. It's beyond cool. This is your very life, dear one. This is about your life. It's not just a little drop. A drop in a pond is a pebble in a pond. It causes a ripple effect. It's big enough. This is about your life and making it magnificent without being ego-bound or narcissistic or crazy. All right. We are complete with you so today. Are you so with us?
I am. Thank you so very much.
Very well, and everyone needs to take the phone away again because we're going to tone as we pull our energy, not so much out of her, but pull it back so that we may speak to the public one more time and then let the channel come back.
Okay.
The reason and the focus for the toning is to teach you all that you are frequency, vibration, tone, and color. Sound is energy. Energy are cells. Cells make the body, and the structure makes the other bodies and their structures. Everything comes back to the tone, to the focus point of color, to the frequency of the cathedrals of light, all 13 of them, and to, therefore, the structure of the light of the cathedral of each of your hearts. It has been our honor and pleasure for you to have taken us into your fold this evening. Hark and hear the angels sing, for not too long from now, our brothers and sisters and all beings of all creations, we shall be as close as right next to you. The door shall open, the veil shall lift, and no longer will we be a phenomena. We will be family. Many blessings to each of you. May you all know joy in your given lifetime. May you walk consciously. May you walk lovingly. And may your sacred walk bring you home once again.
Thank you very much.
Well, Megan, thank you. Like to put yourself out this way is very, very powerful. Amaya, I'm going to ask Tom to kind of join us in the conversation and for our audience's purpose and give us a little feedback on what you heard, Tom. And, like, were we right on? Were we off? Or what was your experience?
Yeah, my experience was a lot that was talked about was dead on. Dead on with, I've been married to Megan for 17 years. I like to think those 15 years of love came from our relationship that she was talking about, or Isaiah was talking about. But, I think that that's one of the reasons why Megan was really taken back. I think there was a lot there that was right on. I mean, the father, the tightness that she goes through on a daily basis as far as emotions are concerned. A lot of that stuff was dead on as far as I was
There was
concerned.
much more information than that, but some of it was just way too personal to do it online. And if you'll go back and listen to the recording, that's why I'm glad it's been recorded, and hopefully my voice will come out. Because when I do this work, I send them MP3 files now. and people have to go back and listen. When I did tapes, people would literally, some people, their tapes would break. They had listened to them over the years so many times, and each time they say they would hear something else. Now, of course, that work tends to be a little deeper because I'm not on air, and there's some things they won't air in public. It's just consideration.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, we've done, we have a couple of different recordings tonight, Amaya, to make sure that we have this on, your voice has come through, so I'm pretty sure that we've done well with it tonight. Listen, we're running a bit out of time. Megan, how was your experience?
It was awesome.
Awesome.
I have to say that it was dead on. When she first mentioned about my daughter, I was thinking, was she talking to Tom before the show?
Right.
It took me off guard, actually. So it was pretty amazing.
Well, Amaya's a pretty amazing woman, and
Go ahead.
Thank you. Megan, drink plenty of water, and this might break some stuff up emotionally for you. So if you need to, don't hesitate calling me, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you very much.
thanks, Megan, and we'll talk
Thank
later.
you for that compliment, George.
Oh, well, but listen, you're the real deal, and I am absolutely sure of that, Amaya. I just, I'm glad to know you, and wish you had some more time to talk tonight, but unfortunately, we are out of time.
Okay.
And I'll get with you, and we'll get you the code so you can put this up on your website.
Yes, and my website, I apologize to everyone. My website, I'm in the process now of getting someone to help me rebuild it. Everything's in place. We just need to sit down and do it. And this year has been a real hiatus year for me, for my work and for myself. So next year I'll probably be coming out of the gate. I say probably because I never know what God has in store for me, but I have plans of coming out of the gate and helping as many people as I can, because this is the time. It's always been the time, and now we're in the great push.
Well, yeah, that's exactly, and that's why we're doing what we're doing, because we know that we're in that great push, and we're trying to do our part and all that.
Yes, and thank you both for that. Thank you all.
And you have a good night now, Amaya.
You too. God bless.
God bless. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Thanks, Megan.
God bless you, Megan. Much love.
Night, Megan.
You too. Thank you.
Wow, Tom, good show, huh?
Yeah, great show.
And like for you viewers, you're gonna have my mug up there, my face up there a lot, but it was kind of nice to be able to sit back and enjoy the show tonight. I certainly enjoyed what I heard, and I know Tom and Megan pretty well, and it was pretty interesting to Tom sits across from me in the control booth, and to watch what was going on for Tom, and shaking his head yes, and his big smile and his eyes popping out. So it was an interesting thing. So come back next week. We have another great guest lined up. We'll have a great time together. Be sure to come back next week. And in the meantime, don't forget to accentuate the positive and have a fantastic week.